So we can apply borders to our paragraphs as well as our pages. But for now, we are looking at how to apply borders around our paragraphs. So we do this by clicking the border button in the paragraph group in the home tab. And this allows you to change what border style that you want, whether you want thick lines, a 3D shadow effect, or dotted lines, and even allows you to change the color of the border that you want to add to your paragraph. Then if you want to see more additional options, we are going to always click the borders and shading option and apply those changes there. So when you open up this dialog box, there are 3 tabs that will open up, and we shall discuss all 3 in a moment. One allows you to apply borders to paragraphs, and then the other one allows you to manipulate the borders for an entire page. So let's start with our first step-by-step exercise on applying or placing borders around our paragraph. So we are going to use the document that is open from our previous exercise. In this case, we are going to open up the document that we were working on, I believe, on Monday, where we added shading. And actually, by the way, group A was the group that I mentioned or asked the question to say, what is the difference between shading and highlighting? So for those that watched or attended the lecture we had on Monday, the answer was actually given in group B. So if you want the answer for the difference between shading and highlighting, the video is already uploaded on Moodle. I just need to make it public. I'll post the link to Telegram after the class, and you can go through that video and find out what the difference is. So we need to open up the document that group A was working on. It should be in student data files, Word, and I believe this is the one group A was working on. So this is group A's document, and the other one that we had was, this was group B's. So I think I can close this one. So I'm not sure who's talking. Ruben, can you please mute your mic? So this is our document that we were working on. So we are meant to place our cursor in the first paragraph under acknowledgement and put the insertion point in the second paragraph, rather, that begins with, I also understand. So just simply look for second paragraph, which starts with, I also understand, and then put my cursor right there at the beginning of the paragraph. Then step number 2 is in the home tab, in the paragraph group, we are going to click the drop-down arrow next to the border button to show our border options. And then we are going to select the option that says outside borders. So we're going to back to Word, and in our paragraph group, which is this one, in the home tab, this is your borders button or command. So we're going to click the small arrow to expose our border options. So we have an application where we can apply the bottom border, top, left, right, no borders, or borders, but the one that we want is outside borders. There's a slight difference between the two, okay. The one that we want is outside borders. So we simply click it to apply outside borders. Now, before this, let me change my border styles back to normal because we are using existing styles that have been applied previously. Okay, I can select that one. And change it later. So this is how we apply a border around the paragraph. Then we are going to place our insertion point in the third paragraph. And this time we are going to click the design tab. We're going to go to the design tab, and then in the background, in the page background group, we're going to click page borders to open up the dialog box for our borders. So we go to our third paragraph, which is here, put the cursor at the beginning, and then go to our design tab. And in our design tab, we are meant to look for page background group. So that's the document formatting group, and the one that we want is page borders. So when you click that button, you are given the borders and shading dialog box launcher. That allows you to add page borders at document level, which means an entire page, or even paragraph level. So here, what we are interested in is our borders tab, not our page borders. So in your previous, in the previous lecture where we had with group B, I also took note of the following. So when you open up this dialog box launcher, we have this tab which is currently active. You have your settings that you can apply, different styles, colors, widths, and arts. You also have a preview here to your right. But what you should take note of is this section. Where are you applying this border to? So this one is applying it at the whole document level, or a section, the first page, or certain sections of your document. Now, if you move to the next tab, the first one, which is just simply borders, the settings seem the same, or actually are the same. We have style, color, width, but there is no art. See here, this one had art, and this one also doesn't. But what you can use to differentiate which borders you are applying to would be this drop-down menu. So if I click here, I only have paragraphs available, meaning I'm only applying my borders to a paragraph rather than the entire document, an entire page, or a section of my entire sections of my documents. So this is the one that you want. So we've navigated here. What are we supposed to do next? Okay, so we open up our borders and shading dialog box, and then click the borders tab to make it active. The design tab in the ribbon is new for Microsoft 13 going up and contains some additional options. So we are going to select shadow under settings, and then select the 9th option under the style. So in group A, group B's lecture, we chose the 9th option and chose dark blue too. For this one, let's choose a different color. So we are going to pick shadow, or even let's say 3D. Let's choose 3D. And then we are going to pick a style. So that was under settings here. So now under style, in the instructions, you've been asked to pick the 9th option. So if you want to see what the 9th option is, just watch the other video. So in this case, let us choose something different. Maybe that one. And for this one, we were asked to pick 2¼ points. So let's pick something maybe more outrageous, like 4. And you also see a preview of what it will look like here in your right. And then when you're done making all your style options, you select OK to apply those changes, and you have your borders applied to your paragraph. So we save this and then move on to the next section, which is placing a border around text. So in order to do that, we go back to the home tab. So we are currently in the design tab, and then we are going to enable our non-printing characters to show some text. So let's go back to, maybe let's click somewhere else in our document, and then go back to the home tab, which is here at the top. Do we have comments in the chat? People, If people can see my screen, just simply type screen in the chat. So because I'm seeing a comment that says someone is not seeing anything. If you can see my screen, just type screen. Perfect. Okay, everyone is following. So if you are having issues with the Zoom lecture, just simply log out and then log back in. Usually it has to do with network connectivity. So we are trying to apply borders to text. So we go to our home tab and then enable our non-printing characters. And as a shortcut, I've just simply typed or clicked my borders button. Now, what tends to happen is that whatever text you've highlighted and the current active border options will be applied. So let's say I select these words and I want, so this one is not applying my left borders. Border settings, none. And it removes my borders. So whichever border option is active, that is what you typically apply. So like now I selected this paragraph at the beginning, and when I clicked on it, because it's set to my right, that's why you only see the right. So if I select a different paragraph here where it is please, and then change it to top, the top part of that paragraph, border is displayed. So that's how you go about placing borders around text if you do not want to use all of them. So here are the other options which you can go through. I also went through this step-by-step exercise with group B, so you can also watch it, but you also receive, you also attend the same goals. Now, how to remove borders around text or paragraphs. Let's say we want to remove these ones that we've just added, this long one and this right one here and around here. We don't want them there. So these are your steps that you take. So we are going to select the portion of the document where we don't want our borders to be applied. So in this case, I don't want this top part to be visible. So if I click my drop down arrow under the borders and click none, our borders disappear. That's one method. Additionally, you can also select your paragraph where you want this one to disappear. And then here in your drop down menu, you launch your dialog box for borders and shading, and then select under settings, simply put none, and then click OK. You should see your borders disappear. And I'll also do the same for this one and apply none for it to disappear. So all I did was, for it to disappear, I selected where the borders were applied. And I know that this symbol means none, because if you look at the dots, there is no line anywhere. So I know that the current active command is none. Or you could have simply selected the drop down and said no border. It achieves the exact same thing. Click again in the middle or anywhere in your paragraph and say no border, and your borders disappear. Same with this one to remove your border. So either you use the drop down menu and say no border here, or go down to borders and shading and select none. Your borders will disappear. So I can now disable my non-printing characters. Any questions from our group A members before we start looking at line spacing? If you've got a question, just simply raise up your hand. Before we start looking at spacing. Okay, silence means no questions, we move on. So we also have another way to clear paragraph formattings. Now, if you go through this method, you typically start removing other formatting things that you found. So if you recall, in our home tab, we have an option to clear our formatting. So in the home tab, in the font group, we can click the clear formatting button to also clear some formatting. So in the font group, which is here, we have this button that allows you to remove all formatting from your selection. So do we have anything that's been formatted so far? So nothing. So let me undo what we did. And then if we click clear formatting, all the formatting options that were applied to this document are removed, including the font that was applied. So it goes back to its original state as well, but it also removes your border. So if again you click on it, it will remove the formatting. Was there any formatting applied? Yes. So that was the formatting applied where you changed the text to Arial. But if you don't want to lose the font type, you can just use the no border option. All right, let us talk about line spacing between text and paragraphs. So you can also determine how much space is between your text and also between your paragraphs. And by default, your space between each line is about 1.15. Now, in the previous lecture for Group B, I also highlighted to say that for spacing, this will be dependent on your document requirements, meaning whether you will be creating a formal letter, whether you are creating minutes or some form of reports, your line spacing will be determined by the document requirements and type, and also how much content you want to fit within the document. And the thing is, the bigger your line spacing, the less information that you can add to your document. The less the line spacing, the more text or content that you can add to your document. So you trade thinly, but also use appropriate line spacings. I think for most of your assignments, most of your lecturers will tell you that the line spacing is about 1.5, which is fine. And the reason why you would want some adjustable size between your paragraphs is so that when people are reading, they can navigate from one line to the other easily. And we are also being told that the space between the actual paragraphs from paragraph 1 to paragraph 2 is about 8 points for each paragraph. And this can be customized as well. Then when we look at setting the line space, we have a command or a button that allows you to navigate or change line spaces, and some options have been predefined for you. This command for line spacing is found in the home tab and also in your page layout tabs. In the home tab, it's found under your paragraph group. So we are going to look at some line spacing exercise in a moment. Now, from 2013, you also have another additional point where you can navigate or manipulate your line spacing in the design tab. So that one shows you additional commands, and this table below here also shows you some descriptions about this line spacing. So you're going to go through this table to understand different kinds of line spacings and their options. So here, let's start with our first exercise for setting our line spacing. So we are going to open up our same document, Books Beyond, and then place the insertion point in the first paragraph under the acknowledgement heading. And then in the home tab and in the paragraph group, we are going to click the line and spacing button or command to display the line and spacing menu and options to add and remove spacing before or after paragraphs. So under acknowledgements, which is the heading, we are going to put our cursor or insertion point at the beginning of that line. And then in the home tab and our paragraph group here, we're going to look for our line spacing and paragraph spacing button. There's a small arrow, the drop down arrow that we use to see our options. By default, whatever line spacing amount that is currently being used will be ticked. There should be a tick next to the line spacing amount. So right now it's at 1.0. So let's see what we are meant to change ours to. So we are meant to select 2.0 to double space our text. So we go back to our beginning at the insertion point and then pick 2.0. Now notice that as I move down, these different options and line spacings, your paragraphs also give you a preview before you finally select it so that you see what the final output is. So if I select 1.15, that's the line spacing I'll have. If I select 1.5, 2, 2.5, there's more spacing between the lines, 3. And then if I go to add space before paragraph, notice that the distance between acknowledgement, the heading of acknowledgement, and the sentence. So let me select out. So what you should look out for is this space. This is the space that I'm saying you should take note of. The space between acknowledgement and my first line. That's the one that's changing for that option. So again, put my case at the beginning, go back to my line spacing options. And then when I say add space before paragraph, notice that it has moved down to add some space. So this is where it was before. This is what happens when you add a space. And then when you select the other one, which is remove space after the paragraph, the one that you should pay attention to is the second paragraph where our text starts with, I also understand the employee handbook does not constitute, and so on and so forth. So when I select remove space after paragraph, you notice that both paragraph 1 and 2 are joined together, or there is no space to demarcate where one paragraph starts and another one ends. But anyway, what we are supposed to select is option 2. So we move on to our next instruction, which is 4. Place the insertion point in the second paragraph. In the paragraph group, launch the dialog box, and then we go to our spacing tab or the spacing area. So we have put our cursor here at the beginning of our second paragraph. Go back to our paragraph group, launch the dialog box. And then here, what we are going to follow is spacing. So before, what we were looking at was indentation. These were the indentation settings that we were looking at. Now our focus has changed. What we need to pay attention to is spacing. So now under spacing, we've been asked to select double. When you select double, you will be able to see a preview of what this looks like here. So if I change it to a different one, let's say multiple, at least 3, as I start to increase, I start seeing that the words are either increasing or decreasing depending on what I choose. But what we want is double. So what we are selecting is double and then clicking OK. So we've selected double, then we click OK. It also achieves the exact same thing. So we move on to our third paragraph in our next instruction. Sorry. Place the insertion point in the third paragraph. And then instruction 8 is press Control and 2 at the same time to double space your paragraph. So we've selected or put the case at the beginning, and on my keyboard, I am holding down Control and then 2. So if I undo this, can I show this on keyboard? Let's see if my keyboard works with what I'm typing. Shift. Oh yeah, so it actually shows you. So right down, I'm pressing Control on my keyboard. So Control. If I change and say Shift, you see that Shift is what I'm selecting. Great. And my caps lock is on, so you can actually see. Great. So now I have Control and 2. So the 2 doesn't seem to be highlighting. There we go, Control and 2. And your double spacing paragraph is also applied to that other paragraph. That's how you put double spacing. So we've done double spacing 3 ways. We've added it using our drop-down menu here. We've used our dialog box launcher to put double spacing here. And then for the third paragraph, we used a shortcut. All of these things do the exact same thing. What you should remember is whichever one is easy for you. Personally, I just use my options here in the drop-down. Then we are going to go to our next step, which is click the design tab and then go to the formatting group. So we go to our design tab and then our document formatting group and then select paragraph spacing. So when you click our paragraph spacing drop-down menu, you are able to see a list of some built-in predefined options that you can use to apply your spacing to. So if I want double as well, that's option 4. I can also have double spacing being applied. So I have a question in the chat. So someone doesn't know how to apply thick borders. So I'll get back to that one. Let's finish our step-by-step exercise here. So after that, we select double, which I have just done, and save our document. So now, just as a recap, for the person asking about borders, what you need to do is go to your border and shading, and then the style is the one that dictates what you see as well as the width. So if I put 1.4, I should be able to see a thin line on my border. So it's typically the style that you pick and the width of your lines. That's what will determine how thick or thin your borders are. Okay, so select none and they should disappear. Okay, let's now discuss editing our line spacing between paragraphs. So we're going to use the same document, the books beyond. We're going to select all the paragraphs under acknowledgement. And then we are going to return to the line and spacing paragraph spacing drop down. And we are going to click line spacing options. So this time we want to see how we can customize our line options. So we go back to our top, and then we've been asked to select everything under acknowledgement, which is about there. And then we're going to look at our line options again. Then the one that says options here is the one we are supposed to set. So here now we have our paragraph dialog box launcher, which would have gotten to if we selected this small button here. Now let's see what we are supposed to set. So in the line spacing section, click the drop down arrow and select exactly in the line spacing list. So line spacing here, we're going to pick exactly. And then we are going to click the up arrow until it reaches 22 points. And then click OK. So right now we're at 12 points. And as I'm clicking the arrow, I'm able to see what options I'm setting or creating. That's 22 and okay. So it's now added some more spacing in between our paragraphs. And then we are going to save it and then move on to our next lecture. So paragraphs are usually separated by a blank line in Word documents. And when you press the Enter key on your keyboard at the end of the paragraph, Word adds the designated space above or below your paragraphs. And by default, we've been told that the space between paragraphs is going to be 8 points, but you can set this to 0. We can increase this or decrease our spacing by clicking the before or after arrows in the indents and spacing tab of our spacing tab of the paragraph dialog box. The paragraph spacing can be changed in the paragraph group and also selecting the predefined options for remove space before or after your paragraphs. So let's set spacing around our paragraph. So we're going to open the same file. And this time we're going to select the entire document. And in the Home tab, we are going to click the paragraph group and click the arrow in the lower right corner of the group to display our dialog box for our paragraph space. So here we are meant to select the entire document, and to do that, we can use the shortcut for Control and A to select your entire document. And here, this is the drop down arrow that we are looking for. So now which option are we meant to pick? Oh, so actually it's the Dialog Box Launcher. So we get our Dialog Box Launcher, and the things that we are meant to pay attention to is the spacing before and after. That's what we are looking for. So in the spacing section, click the click the up arrow next to before until it reaches 24. So we look at before, currently it's at 0. And if we click it until it reaches 24, this is our preview. And then click the arrow next to after until it reads 24 points as well. And then click OK. So we go back to our, and we reach 24. So we now have 24 and OK. So with the entire document still selected, click the drop-down arrow next to the line and paragraph spacing to display the line spacing menu. So after I click OK, this is what we've done. So we've added 24 points between paragraphs, and the 24 points that you are seeing is the following. The space between acknowledgement and this paragraph, that's 1 space. And then the next space that we were setting was actually between this. So all those 24s, these are the ones that we were adding and setting. So while our document is still selected, we are going to select remove before paragraph. So before paragraph, here in your drop down, remove before paragraph. So we've removed that one. Right now, it doesn't seem like much has changed. Did the spacing be changed here? Nope, doesn't look like. Then repeat step number 6 and then click after paragraph. So we are going to ensure that our document is still selected. And then we're going to put after. Now what has happened is that the space between your paragraphs has now been removed, because we know that our second paragraph starts with I also understand. So this is the beginning of another paragraph, and that has been removed when you also select after. So you can also go back and undo by simply add a space before paragraph or add space after paragraph. And you should see some demarcation again between the two paragraphs. That's how you customize your paragraph size. And then step number 9 is place the insertion point at the heading called acknowledgement. So we go to acknowledgement, which is there. Click the page layout tab, and then in the paragraph group, click the up arrow and increase the spacing after to 12 points. So we're going to our page layout, and here under spacing, is it after or before? It's spacing after until it reaches 12 points. Great. So after it's at 8 until it reaches 12 points. So that's another way you can navigate and change your spacing between paragraphs. You can also use the one to before. So you notice that we are seemingly moving our document down if we use that other one. So let's put back to 0. And then use the format painter and repeat steps 10 for each heading. So these are the headings. So right now we've applied 12. So right now I'll go to our format painter in the home tab and then click our format painter, and then I'll scroll down to our headings and then apply that. So it's already been copied there. So I'll click my format painter again, move it down to my next, and I'm seeing my text slowly move slightly down. I think one more heading. Is there one more? Okay, and that's it. So we've now applied all that to this by just using the format painter, or we would have increased them manually ourselves. So step number 12 is use the multi-selection and select the paragraphs under each heading and change the spacing after to 6 points. Now for you to use multi-selection, this is what you do. So you're going to select the content under one heading and then stop there. And then on your keyboard, you're going to hold down Control, and then you're just going to scroll down using your navigation pan and then continue selecting the content. So right down, my finger is still on my control. I don't want the heading selected, so I'm leaving those ones out. So this is how you do multi-select. And then move down. And then select again till we get there. So while that is still selected, we're going to go back to our layout. And then I think it was after. Yes, change after to 6 points. So we are going to reduce our after from 8 down to 6 points. And that only applies to the portion that we've selected and not the headings. Okay. So we are going to take a break. I'll leave the session running. In order to save your talk time, please log out if you can, but if you've got unlimited internet, you can. So let's discuss creating and formatting bullet points lists now. So bullet points or bullet lists are an effective way to format lists of items that don't have to appear in any specific order. You can also use numbered lists if you want your items to be in a certain specific order. So items in bullet lists are usually marked by small icons, dots, and so on, but you can actually modify these symbols by creating your own. And we shall go through one of the exercises that allows you to choose your own icon or symbol instead of using a square, a dot, or a diamond symbol. So you can create bulleted lists from scratch, or you can also change existing lines of text into bullet point lists, or choose from a number of bullet point formatting styles. And we can also insert symbols or pictures to become bullet points. So we are now going to open up another document called alarm from the lesson folder. And as I was going through this, I noticed that this file or these files were not in the actual document folder. So that needs to be updated. So I need to put this in our student data files, which is 4. So I'll add these ones here. So the one we are looking for is called alarm. So we've opened that file up. So instruction number 1 is select the 2 paragraphs below the phrase, please keep in mind. Now for you to create bullet points lists, we have a bullet point button or command in the paragraph group. And we notice that it has some solid circles that appear when you select it. So we are looking for the text or phrase, please keep in mind. So we simply go to that part. So please keep in mind, this is what we are meant to create a bullet point into. Let me just pick up the score. Hold on. So you simply, in this case, we were selecting this first line, and then I selected my bullets command to create another bullet. So if I want this paragraph or this sentence to be a bullet as well, I'll simply put my case at the beginning and then select my bullet command at the top, and then both of those will have points. So after that, we are going to press enter. Is that it? Yes, press enter, and then Word automatically continues the bulleted list by supplying a new bullet point line. Then besides the new bullet type, if you do not, rather this same phrase, so we are going to copy this, but in your case, you would type it. So if we go to the end of this line and press enter, you should see that a new point has been created there. Or if you wanted it to come after this point, you simply go to the end of that point and then press enter on your keyboard, and a new list is provided. Then I can now copy and paste our text. So there we have it. So we now have our 3 bullet points, and then we can save this as B and B alarm and move on to our next instruction. So we can also change the bullet list style, or yes, basically change the bullet style. So we are going to select the entire bullet list that we have just created. Then to change the format of the bullet list, we are going to click the drop down arrow next to the bullets to see some bullet items that we have. So now in this case, we have these available bullets that we can use. And depending on what you have defined on your PC, you might not see all of them. Because looking at this picture, I can already see a bell, and I know I haven't created a bell bullet list, so I don't expect it to appear. Then we are going to click the hollow circle in the bullet library. So if we go back to our alarm, so I think we're not using this file anymore, we can close it and save it. So we're going to select our bullet lists. Now, instead of clicking on the command itself, I want the drop down arrow so I can see your different bullet styles that we have under bullet library. So if I click none, it means my bullet points come out. If I pick this diamond, my bullet icons change to a diamond. If I hover over this one, it will be a circle. This one will be a hollow one, a hollow circle. That will be a square, and whatever graphical icon this is. So all of them will change. So those are your different types. So we are going to click the hollow circle in the bullet library. So the hollow circle is simply this one, the one without shading. And that's you changing your bullet style. So we can also add an unordered list such as bullet appears with no rank over the others. So we can change the bullet list. Changing the bullet list can change the appearance of the bullet and indentation. So we are going to use the same document that is open again, and we are going to place the insertion point in the second bullet item this time. So we are going to first go here. So this is where we are. That's our second bullet item. And then click the drop down arrow next to the bullets button, point to change list view. So we're going to change list view, and note that the levels will appear. So we're going to click the small drop down arrow, and then here where it says change list view, we now see a list of predefined lists that we can use. So click, or rather click to select level 2. The bullet item is demoted from level 1 to level 2. When the levels are increased or decreased, the indentation is changed, and you will see that they have changed by checking the markers on your ruler. So if we go back to here, change our level. So that's level 1. And if I click level 2, we see that it has propagated inwards. So this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing this is, if you recall when we were looking at indentation, we said we can increase and indent our paragraphs, but here we are looking at lists, and we use the same commands. So if I indent using this one, it will also achieve the same thing. It will move it one level down to level 2. Or if I use the one that says decrease, it will bring it back to level 1. So let's go back and use our change level to level 1. And then we are going to place the insertion point on the third bullet item, and in the drop down menu, we are going to change that level to level 3 this time. So move down to our third one in our drop down, change level list to level 3. And notice that even as we are changing the levels, we are also able to see a list of predefined icon symbols that we can use. So you can see that level 1 has this hollow circle, and if you look at our text, it's also a hollow circle. Level 2 also has a hollow circle, which matches this hollow circle. And then this one is level 3, which is a square, and this is the square that you see. So if we had level 4 information, it would be a shaded circle, and so on and so forth. But you can also change how these are defined. We move on to our next instruction, which is 8. Select the second and third bullet items and click the drop down arrow, and then change their level back to level 1. Or we can use our indentation method. So we'll do it both ways. So we're going to select both of them, and then select our bullet command drop down arrow, and then promote them or change them all back to level 1, and it will achieve the exact same thing. If I was using my indentation commands, I would select one and indent one by one like this, and I would also achieve the same thing. So we save and move on to our next command. Now, before we look at the next exercise, which is using our own character for our lists, do we have any questions from the group? Abigail Lungu, do you have any questions? Abigail? Good morning. I hope you people just don't sign in and then go about your day. Abigail, do you have any questions? Not sure if Abigail doesn't have connectivity. Is Crispin Tembo with us? Are we together? Any questions? Okay, silence means everyone is following. So let's go ahead and do this next exercise. So we are going to use the existing document from our previous exercise to add our own bullet characters or symbols. So we are going to select the third and second bullet point items and promote them to the first level, which we've already done, and then select all three bullet point items. After that, we are going to click the drop down arrow next to bullet. So currently all of them are at level 1. Yes, all of them are on the same level. So we select them and then we are meant to go to symbols. So we are then going to go click the symbols button. Yes, click the symbols button in the define new bullet dialog box. The symbols dialog box will open as shown in the right. So we've selected this. We go down to our small arrow and then we're supposed to click our define. Nope, we are meant to select our symbols. Now symbols are here. So there's a step missing from there. But anyway, let's get our symbols. So now we have, that's another way to get your symbols. Just simply go to insert and your symbols will come up. Now we are going to change the font by clicking the drop down arrow and then scroll and select Wingdings. This one is a very popular one to choose. And then select the bell in the first row, 6th column. So let's change our font. So this is where you see the font. So let me highlight where we are. Start by canceling this. Let's start by highlighting where we are. So this is the font option that we are meant to change using this drop down arrow. We are going to select Wingdings and then find the bell. That's basically what we are saying. So change, find Wingdings. I think this is listed alphabetically. So I'll just simply scroll down to the bottom and then change. So where we have Wingdings. And then we've been told that the item is in the first row here. That's our bell. And then say insert. Or have we skipped a few steps? Nope, we have said click OK to choose the symbol and click OK to choose the define new dialog box. So how come we weren't able to get there through this method? So let's start this again. We've selected our text, our drop down, define new bullet symbol. There we go. So that was what I was missing. Hope you've all followed. So all I've done is the following. Let me start again in case I was too fast. We were asked to ensure that all of these are at the same level, which is level 1. So far everything is on level 1. The next we select all 3 bullet points to highlight it and then select our drop down arrow next to bullets and then choose new define or define new bullet. And then from here, which kind of bullet do we want? Do we want a symbol, picture, or font? What we want is symbol. So when you get to symbol, the one that I used was a different method. We are meant to select Wingdings. Wingdings. Remember Wingdings, eh? It might come in your exams. And then from here, we are meant to choose a bell. But notice that you can literally create a bullet point icon with any of these symbols. There are so many to choose from, and the list goes on and on and on and on. All of these are the ones that you see in Wingdings. And I know this name very well because what typically happens is that when you're filling in a form online and they want you to tick a certain checkbox in Word, this is where you are going to find the tick, this tick marks or an X, because you're not going to print this out and then manually tick some boxes. So this is how you do it in Word. So in the exam, if I ask you which font group in the symbols dialog box do you find your tick symbol, you should know that it is found in Wingdings. Okay, so all of these are your available font options for your symbols. Yes, Robert, you can speak. Unmute your mic and talk.
In which box are you saying it's found?
It's found in the font group called Wingdings. The tick box.
All right, thank you.
What I'm looking for is this. If you are asked to fill in a form and we are supposed to tick a check mark, maybe like here you want to tick alarm, set alarm, or this portion of your document and so on. In Word, the way you are going to do that is by finding the tick symbol. Now, where are you going to find the tick symbol? You're going to find it in your symbols dialog box here under symbols. Sorry, clear. You're going to find it under symbols. Now, the thing is, there are so many fonts and symbols. All of these, you can see all of these are different symbols that are available. Arabic, New Chinese, fancy Egyptian text, whatever font or symbol you want, you are going to find it here in this list. Now, the question is now, these are your Arabic characters, and I'm sure down the line, you're going to find some Chinese and Korean and so on. Now, the question is, now you want the tick box. Where are you going to find the tick box? You're going to find it in this font, but specifically, if you want to find it early, you're going to find it in a font called Wingdings. Not Wingdings 2, Wingdings, just normal Wingdings. And you're going to scroll down, and this is where you find it. Here's your tick, and that's your X. Now, in our exercise, what we want is that one, the bell. And then we're going to click OK. And then we are going to see a preview of what we have selected. And recall that here we have circles before. Okay, and then we are at step number 4. We've scrolled down and we've selected Wingdings. Great. Step number 5 is select the bell found in the first row, 6th column. Click OK. And we should see our bullet points get updated. Then click OK. And now we have bells instead of circles. Okay. So let us move on to our next instruction. So let me pick up this call. And while I'm picking up the call, you can read the first few instructions. Yes, hello. So I'm hoping you followed that. I've selected the first three items and then gone to define new bullet point. What we are trying to do is insert a picture bullet point instead of a symbol like we've done for changing the bells. So I'm seeing people in the chat type something. Where are my chats? How come I can't see my chat? Oh, someone was saying they can't hear me. Yes, I was taking a call. So now we've done click define new bullet point. So now instead of selecting symbol, this time we're going to pick a picture. So we have symbol, picture, font. What we want now is picture. And then here you have to be connected to the internet, or you're going to choose an existing picture from what you have on your PC. So let's see what we have. So we can insert pictures from your local PC, your Google Drives, or even on the internet. So we are going to select, which ones are we going to select? Type alarms in the Google Office clip at search box and then click magnifier to begin the search. So if we go back here, so we don't have the Office search here. And I think that's because we're not listed. So let's pick any random image. So from here on, the steps will be a bit different because what you're supposed to see is this part. So let me see if I can enlarge this picture for a bit. So if you look at this picture, what you are supposed to search from is this section that says office.com. But if you see from my screen, I'm not signed into the Office, my Office account because I haven't paid for Office. So most likely, if you also go through these steps, you might not see this. So let's just pick any random image. So let me remove my annotations first. And then go back to where we were. There we go. So now let's see if we can find a random image for an alarm. So then we click search. So this should actually invoke your web browser or some searching to happen. So where we can pick alarms. So just to make things easier, we're just going to select our first image there. And then select the close-up hand configuration alarm system image below. So anyone, the image is surrounded by a border. So I think this is the one that is being highlighted because that's the only one with a border. Then we're going to click Insert to begin downloading the image to our document. So we are going to select that image and then Insert. So now it will start downloading your file from the internet. So you need to have some connectivity. So once it is done downloading, you should be able to see a preview of your alarms. And then once what we are done, we're going to click OK. So we can also set some size. You can select the first image and notice that the other images are set, and we can increase the font to 28 as well. Okay, so we say click OK. And then now you see that they are very, very small. So now this is where we want to change it. So if we click on this one, these other three will also change. And notice that even in your home tab in the font group here, this is disabled because it's a symbol. What we want is to increase it maybe to 28 to make them bigger. And that's how you create your own bullet points using an image. And then we can save our document. Any questions on changing or modifying your existing bullet types? Because I know Robert is the only one following here. Robert, do you have any questions?
Not at the moment. I can follow on the screen.
Okay, perfect. Oh, Taonga says, can we repeat? Perfect. So let's go through the same steps, but this time let's choose a different bullet point. So let's make these bullets to start with. So maybe this is steps on how to set the alarm. So let's say we want bullets. Let's say we have the default ones. And as you see, the more you add different bullets, you will start to see them in your recently used bullets. So let's go with the traditional bullets. So instead of an alarm, let's see if we can find the bananas online to make these bananas. So we ensure that they are selected again. We are going to define a new bullet list. I won't choose symbol. I'm sure I can find a banana symbol somewhere, but it would be too tedious to find one. So I'll just go with picture, and then I will search using my browser and say banana. Banana. And then on my keyboard, press enter or simply search there and see what banana images I can come up with. So we have quite a few images. We can also make screen bigger. So let's see which bananas do we want. Let's choose. So we have so many. Okay, let's choose that one. So we want to use that as a list. And then after we've selected our image, it has this blue border. You just say insert, and then it will download. So we just wait for it to download, and then you'll be able to see a preview of your list with bananas. Now, I'm not sure if these images are transparent, but it is a good idea whenever you select images, make sure that the background is transparent. And to do that, it's a simple case of try and error. Pick this image. If it's not transparent, pick another one. And by transparent, what I mean is, if you recall from your first assignment, the very, very first one which you did, which was assignment 0, when you are signing the documents, you are first physically signing your signature on a white paper. And then I gave you a link to some program online that could make the background transparent, such that when you added your signature, it looked like you actually signed that document using a pen on the screen or something. So now we have our bananas showing. It's been left aligned. You can even change alignment to the center and so on and so forth, right? So let's just keep the default and then say, okay. And you should see your bananas show up. Now, in the event that these maybe were also too small, you can select your banana, just any one of them, and all your lists will be highlighted. And if you want to make them bigger, maybe up to 18 or 16, you can. But I think we chose quite a bigger picture. So the size that we changed wasn't necessarily 26 or 28. You just increase it to something more appropriate. All right, now let's look at alignment. Okay, no, there are only 5 minutes. We can end here for today. Any questions? We'll look at alignment on Friday and finish the lecture on Friday itself.
Okay, madam.
Any questions from anyone else?
So our next class is on Friday.
Yes, so for the timetable, let me reshare it in the, I posted an image of my timetable and when you guys have your sessions. So I understand most programs, the updated program timetable isn't showing. So let me just reshare this so that you can see. And I've already highlighted and marked. So on Friday, we are meeting at 9 hours for group A and at 13 hours for group B. And there'll be 2 different links that will be sent for each group so that attendance is taken both times. If you are free during any of the sessions, you are more than welcome to join. So, okay, no questions. So we shall see each other on Friday. I can't preview the attendance list because it is only generated when I end the meeting. So if you want to see the attendance, you can see it on Friday. I'll share it then. I think Derek is the one asking. So the meeting has to end in order to show who joined. All right, then I'll leave you to your next classes. Have a good day. We shall see each other on Friday.
Thank you, madam.